It's not the F word y'all are thinking about. Where's your mind? I know where it is. The F word we're going to talk about is failure. This is something that nobody likes that word, right? It's that pit in your bottom of your stomach. It's emotionally distressing. It just kind of eats at you, and you're like, no. When I was growing up, I was the Apollo 13. Failure is not an option. Yeah, you know, that didn't work out real well for me. Why? I want to share you a story. How many of you have young kids? Like really young, toddling, walking kids, right? You've got this one's coming, so you're going to love this. I wish I had a magic wand right now that could just go poof and turn you all back into toddlers. Not the terrible 2 toddlers, the ones who sleep in there. But the way they process failure is amazing, right? When you look at a child who walks, what's the first thing that they do? They kind of crawl backwards, right? They catch themselves under the table. They go in the corner in there, and they're trying to figure things out. But to them, it's a game. What do? They fall down, and they giggle. You're having a bad day, go to YouTube, find a video of a giggling baby, and it'll change your whole day. So the question is, but what do? They do it again, and they do it again, and they do it again. And as long as mom's in the background, there's no danger, right? They're not hurting. They're just going to go like, okay. But guess what? They aren't interested really in walking. What they're interested in is they want mommy. They want that cookie. And they know walking's going to be the quickest thing way to get there. It's a means to an end. But how do they learn? You don't come out of the womb walking. Did that happen to you in the delivery room? Yeah, I don't think so. So the question becomes, how do we learn? Learning's sometimes tough for folks. We internalize it, and we don't like it. Why? Because it's hurtful. But a kid doesn't know that it's a bad thing. They just rinse, repeat, right? They fall down, they get up, they giggle, they do it again. And again. And again. And again, and however long it takes to get to the promised land. You've heard these amazing stories here today. They kept doing it until they get it right. But the question is, very few people are going to teach you how to process failure. And that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I'm one of those annoying people you're going to meet in high school. Salutatorian in junior high school, valedictorian in high school. I was that perfectionistic, kind of annoying little person that was in there. Until you knew that was coming, right? Senior year, I had signed up for my Calculus BC class. Walk into the classroom, there's this giant equation on the board. There's not a number in the whole darn thing. The teacher says, you're going to be able to do that. I'm like, do what? There's no arithmetic sign. It's all integrals, derivatives and things. And I'm panicked, petrified. So I get into class, and the first semester goes okay. Second semester, not so much. I got my first C. I have never in my life earned anything less than an A. Ever. So I get this first C, and I'm going, oh. Then it gets worse. I earned my first F. Oh, the didn't stand for fantastic. But guess what? Nobody taught me how to deal with that. Up until that time, and all these A's, and many of my colleagues would say, yeah, my A went on the refrigerator, right? I used to get a bucket A. Some of my colleagues, I'm like, man, I could have made a killing. Never happened to me. My C went on the refrigerator door. My F went on the refrigerator door. And I, to this day, 30 years, more than that, I can still remember that pain. And I understand what my parents tried to do. They didn't do it well. What they tried to do is to be able to get me out of that perfectionistic, because there wasn't anything I couldn't do up to that point. But they knew it was coming. Just like I would tell all of you. So up to that point, for me, failure is not an option. Yeah, that doesn't work out so well. Why? Just like a toddler, you have to learn. Learning's painful. But you have to understand what the learning is going to teach you. And as a college professor, I have to teach my students how to fail so that they realize that pain in their stomach, that emotional grind, that shame, that fear, that just absolutely demoralizing. It paralyzes some of my students to the point that they stop. And the point is because they think it's bad. It's not. Failure is that F word, and it's a 4-letter word, but it's not an outcome. It's not an end destination. It's that toddler who's just learning to walk. So the question is, how do you process failure? If my parents would have taught me, going, ain't no big thing, not that they wanted me to fail, but it's inevitable. It's part of the learning process. You have to learn to fail as a young child to learn to walk. But for a kid, it was a game. It's no big deal. Put one foot in front of the other. We got this until I got it. The question is, can I help you separate yourself, the person, lovely, beautiful, I've met most of you here, absolutely amazing women. But maybe the skills you're trying to learn yet, not so much. So if you can separate yourself, the person, from yourself, the skill, maybe that failure's not going to hurt so much. Maybe it's not going to take you out of the game. I often think I have an exercise I do with my students that, is there one person in history you would like to talk to? Me, I'd like to take Edison out for lunch. You know, the guy who invented all these light bulbs? You all know the story? Edison had 997 ways how not to build a light bulb. He only needed one to work. But think about what I think Edison would say. He's got this nice little notebook, and he just says, yep, that didn't work. Nope, that didn't work. Nope, that didn't work. And he kept going. The question is, how many of us would have stopped at 4, 412, 798? He went all the way to the end, and for him, it was not a big deal. The question is, for many of us, it's a real big deal, isn't it? It stops us. We're just thinking, hey, if that's what this success is going to look like, I'm out. I don't want to do it. It paralyzes. It's too difficult. But we've all heard about all of these speakers up here today about perseverance, right? The ability, how do you keep going? And all of it is learning, believe it or not, to process failure. Failure's a gift. How many of you, raise your hand, think failure's a gift? It really is. Because it has to keep you going to success. Failure is not failure at the end destination. Failure's a process. Failure's that 2-year-old. Failure's that, just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Sometimes you're going to find something that isn't going to work. Sometimes you're going to stumble. Sometimes you're going to fall. But the idea is that 2-year-old is to get back up and let's giggle. Let's laugh our way to success. Because if you fail faster, you succeed sooner. I remember during some of the jobs that I had, I was a military wife for 23 years, who moved around a lot, had to interview a lot, so I got used to having to have all kinds of careers. And I remember trying to teach my employees, my staff, to fail. And it scared the living crap out of most of my bosses who are going, come again, Cheryl, you want to teach them to do what? Going, failure is not the option. Failure is the only option. And they look at it like, what? Think about this. I want to have a new employee, a new student come with me. I want to get failure out of the way. I want to find everything not to do and do it in the first 2 weeks. Let's just get it out of the way. We've got to figure out how to do it in order to get to what does work faster. But nobody wants to use that F word. But regardless of what we call it, our friend Shakespeare, right? A rose is a rose is a rose. Failure is just a way of learning. So if we can make friends with failure, we can take it out for lunch like Mr. Old Edison. We can go and have them figure out a way, how do I get there faster? Because that's all a 2-year-old is trying to figure out. If they're not looking at walking as learning, they're looking at it as a means to an end. I want that cookie. I want mom. I want grandma. So why can't we look at what we're doing as a means to an end? With the ability to make failure the only option. And I didn't learn that till really later in life. And I remember, and there's one story in particular, I don't know if we have time for it today, but it was a matter of failing and somebody telling me, like all the other speakers you've heard here today, I wasn't good enough. And I let it stop me. It's the one regret I have in life because I believed them. 20 years later, I'm still working on that part. And so the question is what are you going to do about failure? Can you get through that F word? Can you get to be that toddler and go back to Edison? Can you get that ability to dig deep inside and go, anything? I found one way that didn't work. I found the next way that didn't work. I found the next way and the next way, however long it takes to get to where you want to go. Every one of these speakers said you have to put in the work. But what we call it is how we internalize it. If you call it a failure, you're going to be a failure. Dr. Karen was brilliant. 2 Karens, right? One way is this way, one way is that. Either way is right. The question is, which voice is louder? So I want to challenge you today, and part of what I do for my students is, what do you want to do with failure? Is it the F word that you're just going to say, no big thing, one way how not to build a light bulb? Just that simple. But somewhere along the line, we've internalized what the world has told us, that failure is bad, failure is awful. We are the failure. No, we're not. The skill that we're trying to learn, teach you one little word today. 3 letters. Begins with a Y. It's called yet. All it means is failure is we haven't succeeded yet. That's it. The question is, how much work are you willing to do in order to get there? Are you willing to do 412? 852? 767? Or are you going to stop at 4? One of my stories, I do a lot of speaking around the country. I don't have time for it today. One of my stories, it stopped. And it changed the course of my life. The question is, will you allow failure to change yours? You're in control. Remember, failure isn't you. Failure isn't the outcome. Failure isn't the destination. Failure is a skill. Failure is a process. You can make friends with failure. I challenge you to do it. Think of the next time you go, it's like, I want to learn something new and I want to do it as fast as I can so I can get to the good part. So, the challenge, fail faster, succeed sooner. Fair enough? Sounds pretty simple, right? I wish you success in your journey, and if there's anything that I can do to help, I'm Dr. Cheryl Lentz, and it is a pleasure. Fail faster, succeed sooner.